you have to think that is it just the resource allocation within the household, that the household decision is limited within, that the impact of this decision making is limited within the household. But it's not like that. It has got both the microeconomic consequences, which means the consequences on each household members. It can have its impact on the whole economy. So there are microeconomic consequences as well as there are macroeconomic impact of this sort of allocation. Okay. So we start from a very simple relationship here to look at the consequences of this sort of allocation. For example, we say that it's the income that will guarantee the nutrition, so that you can use the income and nutrition interchangeably. They represent the same thing. Okay? That the higher the income, the greater will be the nutrition level of the household members. And if the nutrition will ensure the work capacity. So your work capacity or your productivity is a function of nutrition, and the nutrition is a function of income. Okay? So the functional relationship is that it is the work capacity that will be determined by the amount of nutrition you have, or the level of nutrition. Okay? So which means that in a poor household, if you've got low income, obviously that will lead to a lower level of nutrition and the lower level of work capacity, and because of the low work capacity or the productivity, there will be lower income. So the cycle is complete there. Okay? So you start from the beginning again. Okay? So the low income will start from the beginning again. So there will be this vicious cycle. So from there, we claim that the poverty, the initial poverty, results in a vicious circle, and it will reinforce the trap. So the household will not have the ability to come out of this trap. Okay? It will reinforce in future as well. So what sort of impact you will have based on this? If the household is trapped in this vicious cycle, the impacts will be, it will affect the ability of the individuals within that household to get credit. Okay? So their access, it is the access to the credit market by the individuals. It is not by the household. Remember, so we are talking about individuals. So this work capacity or the low level equilibrium or the poverty trap will imply that the various household members will have less access to the credit market, and therefore that will affect their consumption. It's because during those 3 off-peak months or the lean season, you need to borrow money because you don't earn anything. The households are not earning during those off-peak season. So you basically earn those 3 months. Then when you during the peak season, when you take part in any agricultural farming activities, when you earn your salary, you just pay it back. Okay, so it's quite common. Because during off-peak season, the households of the adults, they borrow money from the landlords or from informal money lenders, and then once they get their job during the peak season, they pay them off. Okay, so therefore, if there is a lack of access to the credit market, the overall consumption will be affected during those months, and also these members will find it very difficult to sell their labor. So their participation in the labor market also will be affected. So it's not just the consumption within the household, it is also the participation of these individuals in the labor market also will be affected. It will also affect the land rental market, because then these individuals may find it very difficult to rent land from the landlords. Okay? Because the landlords, they may not rent their land out to the unproductive workers. Okay? So it affects your credit market, it affects your labor market, it affects your land market. So the impact will be felt outside your household as well. So these are the micro level impacts or the effects, and also at the macro level we say that the overall, if the households they discriminate their members, and if they do not have access to the credit market, then at the macro level there will be lower level of savings. Okay, because these households cannot save, and the lower savings means the lower investment, particularly the low investment in human capital, and therefore the lower growth, lower economic growth. Okay, so that's how the within household or the micro level inequalities can affect your macro outcome, which is the GDP growth. So two countries with one country, if you compare two countries, the countries with a higher level of intra-household inequalities will have a lower growth, but they may not register higher Gini coefficient, okay? Because they may not have the high inequality at the household level, but they may have got high inequality at the member level, the household member level, okay? So these are the effects. We'll see some of the impact or the evidence next week. So you know that how that affects consumption or health or education and so on and so on. Okay. Okay. Now, so what we say that here, this type of poverty trap is because of the underdevelopment. It's not always because of the household members. It can be due to the general level of underdevelopment, the macro level underdevelopment of the country. Okay? So why? It's because maybe your labor market is also responsible. So we say that if there is a low income, there is low nutrition. Low nutrition is lower capacity and then low income. But then we have to think why there is a low income. It's because in many developing countries, particularly in the rural areas, the workers, they just earn a very much subsistence level of earning. Okay? Because the labor market is quite slack, therefore they just earn a minimum wage, which is not sufficient to support the household members during those off-peak season. Okay? So unless you have got a little bit of surplus, then you cannot support the household members during those periods. Okay? So the overall underdevelopment means that the most of the unskilled workers will have the only the bare minimum wage, and also we find that because of the underdevelopment, we find that in the developing countries, the employers do not have the incentive to invest in their workers. So the household members, they cannot afford to invest because they do not earn that much. But at the same time, the employers also do not invest in their employees, which means although the employees have got the potentials to improve their productivity, but the employers do not take part in those type of investment. Okay? They just want to have a quick profit rather than long-term profit, and because the household cannot invest and the employers do not invest, and therefore these workers will remain low productive, and therefore the low wage will persist. Okay, so the story is complete there. And also we know that this poor household will face a credit constraint, and the credit constraint is lower consumption, lower nutrition. Okay, so these are the main underlying causes. Okay? So it's not always household. We started with the household income and the credit constraint, but here we are talking now. It's not just the household and the credit constraints of the household or lack of access by the household members. It's also the labor market as well as the behavior of the employers. And I think the employers have got employers are taking the rational decision here because why would they invest? Because it is the individuals who should invest in their education and training. Okay, right. Now, if that happens, then we have to check how does this sort of relationship, the income and nutrition relationship, can give rise to unequal allocation. We said that it is efficient, but we have to prove that if the income can affect your nutrition, then how do you know that this is efficient? Okay, so that the unequal allocation at the low level of income is the possibility. So for this, we use a S-shaped curve, which is basically it links the nutrition and the work capacity. Okay, so the nutrition is your independent variable, and the work capacity or the productivity is your dependent variable. Okay. So here we have got two assumptions here, which is at a low levels of income, there is an increasing returns to nutrition. Okay, so which means that at a lower level of income, as you eat more and more, you expect that your productivity will increase at a faster rate because your nutrition level is very low. So therefore, it will have a significant contribution in terms of the improving your work capacity and the productivity at a lower level. That is the increasing returns to nutrition. Okay, but at a higher level, your productivity, if you keep on consuming more and more, then your work capacity will increase, but at a decreasing rate after a certain point. Okay, and then beyond a certain point, it will stop because if you eat even more, it may not increase any further. Okay, it will be quite flat, which is this one here, the solid line here. Okay, so there are two. One is a dotted line, another is a solid line. You have to distinguish between the two here. So there's the solid line, which is OCAEB. So that is your work capacity curve. So you have got income here. You can put nutrition if you want, and that's your work capacity. Okay? So this part from OCA, the OCA is your increasing returns, okay, and AEB is your decreasing returns, and beyond B it's quite flat, and maybe it will go down if you eat more. Beyond this level, if you eat more, your productivity may fall, and too much eating, okay, or too much nutrition. Then you have got another line, which is the dotted line here, the lower one. The dotted line tells you the equality. Okay, so if you this diagram is from Ray, and this particular chapter or this particular topic, intra-household allocation of resources, you will not find this chapter in any other textbook. It is only available in Ray. Therefore, I uploaded this chapter on the Blackboard. Okay, so that you don't have to go to the library. Okay, it's there. This whole chapter is there. Okay, the scanned version. Okay, right. So this dotted line tells you what the household work capacity, not the member, what the household work capacity would be if you divide the resources equally. You have to listen carefully. The dotted line tells you what the work capacity, what the household work capacity would be if you divide the resources equally. So that is the equal division here, the dotted line. Okay? So now you have got two scenarios. Suppose you have got two households. One is poor, another is non-poor. Let's say the Y star is a non-poor household. Okay? Just above the poverty line, Y star. And the Y is another household with a low level of income. Okay? Or low level of nutrition. So if you think about the first household, which is above this poverty line, the Y star. So this household Y star, if they divide, suppose each of these households have got two members. Okay? So if this household with Y star income, if it divides the income into two, so each member will get Y star divided by 2. So their work capacity will be up to this height, up to A. Okay? So each member with Y star divided by 2 will produce up to A. So the total household capacity will be twice of A. Okay? So you multiply this height, up to A by 2, it will be up to B. Okay? So the height Y star B is just twice of the height Y star by 2A. Okay? This height. So this height multiplied by 2 is exactly equal, because that's how I have drawn it here, because your OA is equal to OB. So this segment OA is equal to OB. So therefore this height will be equal to the height B is twice of A. Okay. Now, if this household allocates resources equally, or if there is equal division, then total household capacity will be up to B. But as opposed to that, if the household gives the total income to only one person, then one person will get Y and another person will get 0. So then also the total household capacity will be B, because so one person will get Y star, so the Y star will generate up to point B. So it doesn't matter whether the household allocates resources equally or it gives all the resources to one person. Okay? By resources I mean food or education or whatever. Okay? So far so good, no problem here. So obviously if you like equality, you can go for equal division. Okay, that's fine. But what happens with scenario 2?